火が胸を刺すなら言葉よりもっと強い響きが今聞こえるか
Good morning, samurai and samurette.
おはようございます。
It is time to learn the ancient art.
I'm sorry.
That is my current
I'm sorry.
favorite weapon.
I'm sorry.
The longsword.
I'm so sorry.
Today's builds are as fun as they are likely to have your team yelling at you when you trip them every 3 seconds. For people who are new to the weapon, we have a little basic section, followed by a bit of the current best build for consoles, an itty-bitty splash of the current best build on PC, and then a gander at the beautiful rising sun that is the crit status blast build that I have lovingly labeled Dynamite! Like dynamite, but with an O, like dino? Yeah, alright, well, we'll move on then. Throughout the video, I will also do my best to sell you on this gorgeous weapon by telling you the 5 reasons that I love the longsword. But before we get too far into specifics, let's talk about some generals.
Number 5.
The slide attack. This thing is gorgeous. A simple way to skip a massive portion of your spirit combo and level up your gauge. It looks cool, it feels cool, and it's simply effective. Sliding on through then, it's time to talk about the playstyle of all of these builds, as with Longsword as a whole in Monster Hunter World, which is to get yourself to red spirit gauge as fast as possible, whether that be through the average wave of the spirit combo or one of the fancier and faster functions of the weapon. Once you have red gauge, you want to bide your time and take advantage of your extra damage until you find a beautiful opening for one of the most satisfying moves in the game, the Helm Splitter. Then chuck that gameplay in a shampoo bottle, cause honey, you gotta lather, rinse, repeat. If you are looking for the most effective damage from the longsword, then unfortunately, as with most weapons in the game, you will be looking directly at raw damage, no elements or statuses, which is pretty much why every longsword user and their mother uses the arena weapon, Divine Slasher. If you want to accept this weapon into your life and into your builds, these skills, relatively in order, are the ones that you want to watch out for the most. Weakness Exploit, an abundance of affinity for attacking weaker points, what's not to love. Maximum Might, a slightly smaller size sum of crit chance for simply being at max stamina, which Longsword does quite well. Crit Boost, most builds strive for 100% crit. In those builds, this skill is simply worth 15% damage. Non-Elemental Boost, 10% damage when using a weapon without an active element. The main draw of this skill is that it achieves that with nothing more than a single level 2 decoration slot. Handicraft, Master's Touch, and other sharpness-based skills. These are a little difficult to put into a simple number, but having white sharpness gives you a 12% higher damage modifier than having blue sharpness, so it's pretty good to have. Peak Performance, a generous portion of bonus attack while your health is full. And seeing as you are the parry god, I'm beginning to feel like a parry god, you should never ever lose health. Critical Eye, worth it if you need that extra push to hit 100% crit. Attack Up, essentially all of your free 1 slots. Solid, simple skill that does exactly what it says on the tin. Wait, is that it? Am I done? Yeah, if you saw my bow video, you'd know that some weapons require a stupid amount of skills. Non-elemental boost with the strong raw weapon, crit boost, weakness, exploit, critical eye for affinity weapon. Crit element and element up's what you want for the strong builds. There's not a whole lot else if you want your speed, running kills. Constitution, bow charge plus, peak performance, power shots, normal shots, and attack up for the full omnibus. Special ammo boosts and some crit draw involved if you want a good dragon piercer on Cove. However, reason number 4 that I love Longsword is that it just goes for very high ranks and a relatively small number of overarching skills, making the main goals very simple, but also leaving you with a fair amount of room to get creative and add whatever you'd like. With this list in mind, I would like to take a moment of your time to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, utility skills. Angels sang out in immaculate chorus, as down from the heavens descended the health augment. If you're the type of player who cares more about your quality of life than damage, please, for the love of God, feel free to insert health boost and health augments into their priority list. These builds are all uniquely crafted to not include your weapon augment. You can, of course, shuffle it around a bit and get a couple more ranks of attack if you use a crit augment, but I left it open because of the sheer glory that is the health augment. Having finally gone and played an old-style Monster Hunter game, one of the things that I miss harness the most is said health augment. It is just the pinnacle of convenience, and on an actual skill level, feel free to switch some attack jewels out for some vitality jewels. I just can't overstate how many times sticking health boost into a build has saved me from getting to death. Death. Oh yeah! That reminds me! Reason number 3 to love the longsword is that you can still charge both parts of your weapon off of dead bodies. That's right, your enemies are still just as useful to you when they're dead as they are alive. And there's just something super satisfying about building up your weapon against a dead Aptonoth to prepare to fight some bigger prey. Now then, to dive into the meat of the meal, today's first build, the most offensively efficient build on consoles currently, will simply be known as the Pleasing Touch. The culmination of a few recent updates has left us finally with a surprisingly stable, super powerful, and paranormally pleasurable combination of equipment that lets us achieve these skills. 6 critical eye, 5 attack boost, 3 crit boost, 3 weakness exploit, 3 handicraft, 2 maximum might, non-elemental boost, 1 rank of power prolonger, mind's eye, and master's touch. This build contains one of my favorite skills in the entire game, and the namesake of this build, the Pleasing Touch, so please touch the Master's Touch! Previously, this was just the set bonus to the Teostra armor set, and unfortunately equipping 3 pieces of that made building the rest of a decent set surprisingly difficult, which led to it not being particularly useful. I love this skill. My first proper build in World was an Odogaron Dual Blades Master's Touch build, and now that this skill has returned on better statted armor, it is falling directly into favor with a lot of people. The rest of this build is essentially support skills for this. All of the affinity skills leading to 100% affinity when hitting a weak spot, guaranteeing a proc. The handicraft being just enough to hit white sharpness so you can stay there indefinitely. The one point of contention in this build is honestly the Mind's Eye Jewel. It isn't necessary at all, but nothing that would go into that slot is particularly necessary. You could stick in an extra handicraft to give you some leeway in case you occasionally miss the weak spots. You could stick in an attack jewel, but it's ugly as hell to put a 1-slot jewel in a 3-slot. I landed on Mind's Eye, but you should feel free to stick in whatever you want. And when it comes to sticking things wherever you want, there are few things better in this game than reason number 2. The Helm Splitter. This move is just crazy satisfying. The big, exaggerated animation, the delayed damage dealing, and just the look on your hunter's face as you don't even face the monster you just bisected. Timmy, why are you sitting there crying? I really like the look of the longsword. I can tell why you love it so much, but I can't make that build. I only have the game on PC. Oh, is that it, Timmy? Well, calm down, little buddy. We've got you and all of your friends covered, too. The most offensively capable longsword build on the PC is my friend over here, the Flashing Deity. Bringing with it 4 critical eye, 4 handicraft, 3 crit boost, 3 weakness exploit, 3 maximum might, and non-elemental boost. Get it? Divine Slasher, 95% crit. If you're comparing this to the last build, the sheer difference in complexity of skills is astounding. There is nothing particularly fancy going on here. The build hits 95% crit if you like critting, and god damn it, do I love those little flashes. And that is before even considering a crit augment. This does a perfectly fine job. It's a very strong build on PC right now. One of the strengths of Longsword is how purely enjoyable the base gameplay is. When I parry a monster, I don't care what skills I have on. When I land a Helm Splitter, I don't think about anything else except just how damn anime I am. And this build simply lets you be as anime as possible. My only sadness with it is that the release of Kulturoth on PC has actually had no effect at all on this build. If there was no hidden element on the Divine Slasher, then you could definitely get some interesting combinations with the Call Voice and Chest, but in its current state, they just don't fit in the build. If there is one thing for you PC people to take away from this, though, it is simply what you have to look forward to. Look up at that console build, right up there. Think about how great the future will be. Even Lunastra, which should be the next PC update, will bring significant meta-shifting changes with her gorgeous, blue, hot armor. Yeah, her armor. It changes things a bit, so get fucking hype. And what way is there to get more fucking hype than number 1? The parry! You're damn right, this move beats the Helm Splitter. At least for me, this is right in the running for coolest move in Monster Hunter World. The timing required to get it off makes you feel good when you do it. The way that you essentially say to the monster, it doesn't matter what you've got, I'm simply better than you. And then you take the power of the attack that you just said fucking no you don't to, and then you turn it around and make it an offensive bonus for you in the form of raising your spirit gauge. It feels so good. Lastly, but absolutely far from leastly, comes the crown jewel. One of my favorite builds I have ever made in this game. Sure, it isn't going to win any speedrun times, but by God, is it fun! I present to you Dynamite! This one uses a different longsword. The Empress Sword Sticks to achieve something truly
explosive.
Blasting through the door, this build has a completely combustible combination of skills, the list of which contains crit status, attack up 6, critical ice 6, blast attack 3, crit boost 3, weakness exploit 3, peak performance 3, maximum might 1, handicraft 1, razor sharp, and the bonus skills of 2 windproof and 2 bombardier. I cannot overstate how absolutely mind-blowingly fun this build is. Explosion after explosion, this build is just non-stop carnage. Crit status is a skill that I have never gotten to truly enjoy. If there's one thing that I love in these games, it's 100% crit builds. I think they're the bee's knees, the ant's pants, the beetle's needles, and with original Zora armor, the most you could get out of crit status was essentially the kiddie pool build in comparison to what Zora Gamma armor lets us achieve with this beautiful ocean of skills. Not to discount how wonderful Empress Sword Sticks is here. Without this sword, this build would be 100% fun, but only 10% of its current effectiveness. But because of the high blast value, the crazy amount of base white sharpness, and the intrinsic razor sharp skill, the build is able to rise and be only up masters touch lesser than the tippity top builds. My only regret here is because of the things I've already stated, the quality of the original Zora armor and the importance of this specific sword, there isn't really a PC version of this build. Don't let that stop you though. The build that you can make for PC with the original options will still be a ton of fun, even if it isn't anywhere as close to effective. For the amount that we as a community talk about a meta and the most effective builds, at the end of the day what matters most in this game is enjoying yourself, no matter how you achieve it, unless it's by using Wyvern's Fire on your teammates. Then you can burn in hell, where you'll be just as hot as I feel when I'm using the longsword. Every reason that I have stated up until this point to love this weapon, it falls into this as a whole. Once you understand the weapon properly, every moment that you carry it, every attack feels like you are simply calm and in control of the fight. I never feel held back by the weapon, only bolstered, pushed up, and allowed to achieve my true potential. The weapon is so simple from the outside, but when you dive deep into it, most of the weapon is about timing, and honestly just looking fucking fly as you fly through the air to deliver that final hit. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I have helped you understand the beauty that is the straight-edged killer, the longsword. The builds I have laid out in front of you may become obsolete over time, but the priority list is what I hope will stick with you and be useful forever. I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and these have been the Pleasing Touch, Flashing Deity, and Dynamite Longsword builds. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the little notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.